Hi, welcome back to the Hope to Hope Conference. I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business team.
And I am Cassandra Bradford Wilson with Genesis Preferred Solutions.
And we are in a hurry because we have a little princess from Oklahoma corralled just for a minute. She is an absolute blessing to be around. I met her in an event, I think it's been a couple of years ago, maybe 3, I'm not even sure. And I love to follow her on Facebook and when she was doing Periscope because she's just fun. She has to be related to me because she is a princess and she's fun. So
I need to know how do I get this application? How do I get a princess? Do we need to get Anesha a crown too?
Yeah, she probably has one. So welcome Anesha Alexandria to Hope Conference.
Hello, thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Now, she is a best-selling author.
Woo.
She's a speaker. She does, well, tell us what else you do because I don't even know what all you do. You are a busy girl.
I am. So I am a mother. I like to just put that out there first. I'm a mother of 3. I have a 17-year-old, 12-year-old, and a 6-year-old daughter. So 2 boys and a girl. Recently divorced, so that's a little bit of my personal background. I am a best-selling author. I'm also a speaker and an ordained minister. So I do speak and travel and speak locally as well. And I also am a writing coach. So I host writers boot camps. I'm doing another one in October. So I host writers boot camps and I also coach people one-on-one on how to get their book done in 6 months. So that's a quick wrap up of what I do and how I move in the earth.
You move like a princess. You are so adorable. You are always bubbly. Every time I ever see you or talk to you, you are just full of energy and bubbling over. I think that you are adorable inside and out. You're just beautiful inside and out.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to share this out. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. I'm just sharing it on my feed as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. This girl knows social media though. That's one of my things I love about her is she's always doing something. I was telling Dr. Cassandra, I'm pretty sure when Facebook Live came out, you were probably the first one that ever did it.
I was actually, no joke, because I was on Periscope so much, scoping all the time. So when they finally rolled out the Facebook Lives, I was one of the first people to have it. Of course you saw the famous people, but I was one of the real people. I was so excited because, I'm here, I'm and people are like, how are you doing this? I'm like, I don't know.
Hello. Well, Kim is a provoker. I was told that, Anesha, they told me I was a drug pusher, and I said, well, she's a provoker. She's a princess provoker.
I love that. I love it.
I want to quickly get in because I know we have very limited time with you. I want to quickly get in and I want you to talk about something. This is the purpose of this conference is to share hope, basically, because hope is contagious. But
yes.
We've all been through some things that are hard. But if we will look at those things, we got power from those spots of vulnerability.
Yes.
So I know a lot about your story, but I want you to pick out what you want to share about your story and how you got power from some place that didn't feel so good at the time. and share that so that people listening can have hope today.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a really good question. It's kind of a big question for me because, where I come from doesn't look like where I am now. I was the poster child for lots of horrible things happening in my childhood, being molested, being raped, and then sequentially, having an abortion after one of the first rapes, or the rape I had, and then having an abortion just a few months after that because of the decision I made. So I know a lot about difficulty, and then, my father was an abusive alcoholic, and so definitely had to watch my mother being abused. And so when you talk about hope and you talk about taking those things that, and most of you, I know Kim, I know that you're a believer, and so as a believer, we understand that a lot of times the enemy comes to steal things early from us, so that we don't get to actualize who we're actually supposed to be. And so, I had those things happen to me, and I had to make a decision: was I going to continue to be what happened to me, or was I going to actually reach for the life that I believe I deserved and that God gifted me with? And so I was able to be seeing myself. And one of the things I always tell people is that life can happen to you and bad things can happen to you, but it doesn't have to happen in you. And so I learned very early on how to make believe and how to escape my situation so that I can begin to get a clear picture that even though these things were happening to me, I got to choose the life I wanted to have. And so that's what I did. I chose differently than where I came from.
Wow.
Yes.
I like that.
And I have to say, I've witnessed this side of things with you. And when you walk into a room, everybody kind of gasps. You're like one of that thing in your whole life. You've never had anything walk in of that you're transparent about the things that you came from, and you didn't choose to stay there.
Right.
You didn't choose to let that cause you not to be who you are.
Right. Thank you for that. I believe it's a choice. I think sometimes we think, because there's so much in this view, in our eyes and experiences. But, the Bible says, as a man thinketh, as a woman thinketh, so is he. So I believe that your thought life can remove you from a place that's dark and desolate and traumatic to a place of your conference, hope and encouragement and change and love and peace. And so I think if we really understood the power of our minds, we would be careful what we allow to stay in here.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So tell us if someone, they have gone through some things, they've gone through some things that were inflicted. We keep saying, because I want to cover everybody. I've made some pretty dumb choices, but I've also had some people make dumb choices that affected me. Right. So tell the listeners what you suggest they could do today, because we're all about being in the present. What could they do today if they are in a time of being discouraged because of choices by someone else or choices by themselves? What could you tell them today to start changing that and walking out of that?
Okay. So one of the first things, and I have to say, I know I keep bringing up our thinking, but for me, that is the beginning place, because, I have been, and I'll just, be a little candid with you. I have been in a very interesting place for 17 years of my life, and not the whole 17 years. If you've ever been married, you understand that, marriage has its ups and downs, but I was in a very difficult space for a long time. But, I understood that I wanted to, first of all, be patient and honor, the vow I made. And so I wanted to be patient. I didn't want to make any sudden moves. Even though any of you who've ever been through a marriage or been through a divorce, you understand that you start to see the deterioration. You see the pathway that it's going, and when you're trying to rescue it and it's not surviving, and you're trying to rescue it and it's still on life support. So I understood that even though I was in this situation, I knew I had to begin to think. I had to begin to not allow, again, what was happening to me to happen in me. And so one of the things I encourage people who are in those spaces now, whether it's, of course, if you're in an abusive relationship, you need to get out immediately. There's no question about that. But I know sometimes it's easier said than done. If you are, in a financial situation, or maybe it's a health situation, whatever situation you're facing, I believe, and I know this to be true because I've lived it, you get the opportunity to do life with God if you're a believer. You get the opportunity to make changes in your life. And so even though right now it looks difficult, if you are so willing to be bold enough and first admit to yourself that you deserve to have, the Bible says that Jesus came to give us an abundant life. So if you believe that, if you believe that you are deserving of an abundant life, which you are, begin to allow yourself to formulate pictures in your mind, because as you think you are. So begin to formulate pictures, begin to think vividly. I have a dream board I always try to put up behind me when I'm home doing broadcasts, because dreaming is so important. And so get visuals. If you have to do a dream board, if you have to begin to Google someone you admire and see the steps they took, but you can literally transform your life just by your thinking. So even though it feels uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good, everything has an expiration date, and everything can be accelerated if you're willing to allow your mind to match where you see yourself going. And then you take a further step and you let your words begin to declare. The Bible says we shall declare a thing and it shall be established. So that's not like a maybe, a possibility. It says it shall be established. And so I hate to have to keep throwing out some of the same key things I'm using as far as the word, but I'm a believer, and that's my grounding, and I've lived it. And so I would say you really have to be intentional. It's not something that can happen by accident. You can't just happenstance on the life you want. It's an intentional thing. And so you have to begin to let your words, your mind, and what you allow yourself to go into your ears to match up to the direction that you see yourself going. Your life goes in the direction of your most dominant thought. So allow your mind to dominate a place of success, a place of freedom, a place of whatever has you bound or you feel like it. Allow your mind to take you to a place where that thing becomes so minute. So you have to get that vision so clear. And eventually your life will have to line up with what you see. But it starts with you taking those steps today. It starts with you having a plan. It starts with you being focused and being intentional. I hope that answers your question.
That was awesome.
Yes. I love it. So now tell us, and I know we don't have much time, but let them know, what are you doing today? What strength did you get out of that vulnerable state to propel you to where you are now?
Okay. So I have to be honest, I think it's so important that we find our why. Because life is difficult. Things happen. Some days you're excited about what you're called to do, and some days it's like, wow, right? And so because you have those moments, I have to find my why. And so for me, when I first got back into speaking and ministering and being obedient to my call, my daughter was my why. My sons are my why, but my daughter, because she is a prophecy that came to pass. And God began to deal with me about having her. I was like 32, and I'm thinking, God, I don't want any more kids. It's, just that whole conversation you have with God. At that time, our middle son was 6 or 5, so they're 6 years apart. So you just have this whole conversation with God, but God began to give me dreams about her, and people began to prophesy her coming. And so I knew that she came with actual purpose, and we all do. But hers was so profound that God began to deal with me about her coming here. And so since I knew that she had a call and a purpose on her life, I knew I had to remove all the excuses out of the way. The excuse that, oh, you're a woman. Oh, people see you differently because you're a woman in ministry. People, all these thoughts I had that kept allowing me to be fearful of my call. I believe as parents, we pave the way for our children. And so when we begin to pave a way that doesn't have a lot of the fears and distractions we have, we make it easy for them to walk in those steps. And so she became my why when I didn't feel like it, when I was tired, when I didn't, just emotional, ladies. We understand some days you wake up and you just feel fruity and it's just your emotions. But, we have these cycles. But I had to be clear that if I want to see her reach her full potential, and this is just for me, she became my why. She became my fuel. And so while I think a lot of people say, well, as believers, we say, well, God is the reason why. Absolutely, God is the reason why. But sometimes you need a tangible reason. And so for me, that was my tangible reason, and even still is today.
And I have met that little princess, and she's really cute.
She really is.
Well, she must, because you're Alexandria. So.
Is it?
Well, and she lives in Oklahoma. So.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were cutting out just a little bit. I didn't hear
We're talking about Dr. Cassandra's daughter. She lives.
I was just saying, amazing. I said, because Alexandra's middle
Books are, because I want to make sure we give you a proper shout out for those. Can you tell us and can you get your books on Amazon?
Yes, I do have my books on Amazon. I also have a website, www.aneshasharp.com as well. But yes, you can definitely get them on Amazon.
Okay, and hopefully somebody got that.
I didn't get it.
It's aneshasharp.com.
Anesha Sharp. Okay.
And it is ANESHIASHARP.
I can, I'll put it in the comments. Let me see if I can put it in the comments really quick.
Okay. And then I want you to tell us about your program that you help authors, because I have a little bit of insider information since I know you, but I want you to talk about your program that you have for authors. Because one of the hardest things is to tell your story. Yes. And when you go to write a book, sometimes it's the very beginning thing that is the hardest, because you don't know how to get started.
Right. It is. I'm going to put this in the comments and then writing your personal story. And that's often people who I work with who want to tell their personal story. And it can be a very difficult experience, because oftentimes when you're telling your personal story, it's usually a story of triumph. It's usually a story where you come from something that was difficult, that was hard, and you have to begin to relive those moments. And so basically how my program works is we work together for 6 months, and we go through and we set up a timeline. So I sit with you and I find out where exactly are you in the writing process. And so then we go through the timeline of 6 months. And so how I have them do it is I'll have them write for 2 months. So that's specifically writing. You're not reading it and making changes, you're just writing. So I have them write for 2 months, and they spend about 2 hours, 5 days a week. So as long as they get their 10 hours in, they're good. So we do that for 2 months. And of course, during that time, I meet with them twice a month. And then we also some people are out of state, so they may be over the phone or Facebook Live. I'm not Facebook Live. What do you call it? FaceTime, or we do certain live ways to see each other. And then every other week I check with them to just see how the writing process is going through text message. And so, of course, answering questions. I also, each month I send them a tutorial on how to market their books, because it's also important not just to write a book, but to remember that being an author and a book is a business. And so I send them tutorials on how to market their book on social media in different avenues, and that goes every single month. And then also the importance of having a business page. So we go through a lot of that type of detail. Then we also talk about how to create memes and marketing pieces for your book. The next month, after the 2 months are over, the next month we are what I call develop your story. So that's when you print out everything that you've written, and you go through and you write on a hard copy changes that you see need to be made, or things need to be added. Is there enough imagery? Can we feel it? Are we in the moment with you? And so you read.
Did we lose you, Anesha?
I think we lost her.
Oh no. Well, I will say, you can go on and find all the information, and you can contact her through her website or through Facebook.
Yes.
Don't hesitate to contact her, because she is, I'm telling you, she's a little powerhouse, and she's great with accountability. Like, she will help you get.
I love her then. I love her even more.
But she's a princess pusher.
Hey.
And so, well, we're going to sign off and get ready for the next session.
Yes.
Alexandria. Now I'm having trouble. Or AneshasSharp.com. Make sure that you get connected with her. She is awesome. And I know you can probably hear us. I'm sorry that like we lost you, but we love you and appreciate you and thank you for taking time out of your busy life, because I know you're busy, to come and be with us at the Hope to Hope conference.
Yes.
I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business Team.
And I am Cassandra Bradford Wilson with Genesis Preferred Solutions.
We will see you all in the next session.
Bye.